You identified the problem very clearly. You offered some solutions, but one solution I don't hear is, what are those truck drivers going to do after they lose their jobs and get their $12,000 a year?
We're looking at a multi-year transition. Let's call it 5 to 10 years before they experience significant displacement from self-driving trucks on the highways. Some context. Only 13% of truckers are unionized, so this is not a grand negotiation. 87% mom and pop, small business owners. Many of them took out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans to buy their truck. After I'm president in 2021, there'll be very, very clear messaging to let truckers know. It's like, look, many of you are going to lose your jobs in the days ahead. Because this transition is so significant, I would appoint a trucker transition czar to take some of the $168 billion a year and take some of those resources and try and create a runway for many of the truckers. But on the individual trucker level, let's say you have 5 or 6 years before the robot truck eats into your hours. You're getting $12,000 a year. You may save, let's call half of that. So maybe you'll have like $30,000, $40,000 in savings. And then you lose your job. You're getting another $12,000 a year. And you go home to a town, let's call it a town in Missouri. Let's say that town has 10,000 adults in it. With a freedom dividend, there's another $10 million a month in that town. So what does that mean? That means that the Main Street businesses are expanding instead of shrinking. That means that local nonprofits have much more in the way of resources. It means there are more opportunities at every access point in the local economy. So instead of an existential threat where you might resort to something very, very dark, you're going to go home and say, okay, this is a very, very big change in my life, but I have tens of thousands in savings. I'm going back to a town that has some opportunities for me, instead of going to a town where there's nothing and feeling like you're not going to be able to meet next month's rent. Okay, and then before we go, I'm going to do... And to the extent that retraining programs work, we should be using them, but the reality is they'll work for approximately 20% of the truckers involved. And I've been to truck stops in Ohio and Iowa and around the country, and the reality is if you were to show a set of truckers like a clipboard and say, hey, would you like to sign up for a retraining program? You would not get many takers, let's put it that way. There's not like a whole great deal of enthusiasm and excitement to get retrained for a different field or livelihood.
Are all y'all paying attention? Automation gonna sweep the nation unless we get him in. Andrew Yang, 2020 freedom dividend. Climate change is real again. Science rules. Teachers bringing home some bread. Medicare for every citizen. That's nice. Andrew Yang, 2020 freedom dividend.